Welcome to another edition of For the Health of It. I'm your host, Cornia K. Paget, and today I have with me the 2018 World's Strongest Woman, Andrea Thompson. Andrea, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
How are you doing, ma'am?
I'm doing well, actually, thank you, considering the situation the world is in right now.
Yes, ma'am, I understand. So how is things? What part of the UK are you in?
So I'm southeast,
Uh-huh.
which is sort of east of London, about an hour away from London.
Okay, good deal, good deal. I spent about 24 hours last summer in London. Uh, my wife, and my mother-in-law and sister-in-law did like a little 2-week trip over in Europe, and London was one of the stops we made. I wish we could have stayed a couple more days, but we only stayed about a day and a half. We enjoyed it though. But
I love London. I was there yesterday, actually, just on a day trip.
okay.
So, and I only live an hour away from it. I do love going to London.
Yeah, no, it's a very beautiful city. Very beautiful. So how are things going with the pandemic over there?
It's easing, actually. It's been a little bit stressful at the start because obviously nobody knew what was happening. Our government was quite slow to react to locking us down, basically. We all quickly, everyone just had to adapt. There was nothing we could do about it. We had to adapt. I was working from home. My children were working from home, which was complete chaos to try and be homeschooling an 8-year-old and an 11-year-old.
Right.
I'm not a teacher, so I now take my hat off to teachers because I cannot teach children at all. I can be a parent, I just can't be a teacher.
Okay.
But the shops and everything, they're easing up now. We're starting to reopen again in the next week or so.
Okay. So what do you do for now your hair looks good to me. I don't care. You see mine. But what do you do for everyday living before the pandemic? What was your day job per se?
So my actual job title is NVQ assessor. So I work at the college as further education. So
Gotcha.
I assess 16 to 24-year-olds who are in the workplace.
Mm-hmm.
They get paid while they're studying, just at a lower wage.
Okay, good deal, good deal. So going back to the pandemic, was that the Arnold Classic you were at when you set the world record?
Yes, it was. Yeah, that was as much as exciting as the whole Arnold thing was, it was actually quite scary because I hadn't even left the country before it kicked off, actually. And I was actually on the coach on my way to the airport.
Right.
And I had a text message come through from one of the girls that was out there and said, they're shutting the airports down. Are you still coming? And I was like, I'll try. I'm still coming. I'm on my way.
Right. Oh man. So you were leaving the UK at that time, or were you already stateside?
No, I was leaving. I hadn't even left my home county at that point.
Okay. So it was in Ohio, though, correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I think the Arnold Classic might have been like one of the absolute last sporting events to go on before the world went on pause.
Yes.
And then that event itself with the elephant bar deadlift was very eventful. The fact that the world record got broken 3 times in one event.
Yeah.
Pretty crazy. Can you chat me up about that?
Well, so I'd actually been competing as a pro throughout the whole weekend. So I did Friday and Saturday. And I'd already qualified because you have to do an online qualifier for the Rogue record breakers. So I'd qualified to do the deadlift anyway. So it was going to be like a backup plan for me. Right. My plan was to win the Arnold because I haven't won that one yet. But things didn't go quite as to plan. So I had the record to back up on. So it was about 4 o'clock in the morning. Actually, I was on the phone to my coach and I said, look, I'm not going to win this competition. What can I go for the record? He said, you've got nothing else to lose. So it was a 4 o'clock in the morning decision of the day of the record to go for it. Now at the time, so on the Sunday the Saturday we'd done the deadlift for reps, and the Atlas stone over bar was the last event.
Right.
So I knew that I was going to be kind of like mid place when I did the deadlift for reps, and the stone over bar isn't one of my strongest events. So I didn't want to bust myself to do that one. So I just did 2 reps of the stone and I called it a day. So at that point, they were already warming up out the back for the record.
Okay.
So I quickly ran out the back, whipped off my shirt, changed my clothes, and started to warm up with the girls that were at the back already, while the stone over the bar was still going on out the front.
Right.
So the actual event itself, the atmosphere just changed completely once once the cameras were all there and the Rogue people took over, because you've got the Strongman Corporation did the pro show. Rogue took over, and it was just all of a sudden everything just went up a level.
Right.
The girls I was up against, I knew that they were really good deadlifters, so I just had numbers in my head that I wanted to hit. It was a really good platform to me to be on. I was privileged to have that opportunity. So I was just going in. But when it came to my final lift, Kristen had just broken the record for the second time.
Exactly.
And I was like, and the lift that I'd gone in for the final time, I'd not even hadn't even thought about that number before. And I thought, well, I've got one lift to do. I need to beat her.
Right.
So I just checked to see what number she was going for, and I think I put on about 2 kilos extra, 2 to 4 kilos more than what she had.
Right.
And I don't know if every time I watch the video back, my heart races because I know what was going through my mind. And I was actually just trying to control my breathing, because, like I said, it was a weight I'd never touched before. I hadn't even dreamt of getting to that position. And all of a sudden I was faced with this potential world record. And so my heart's going now, actually, when I think about it. So I was just kind of pacing backwards and forwards, just trying to catch my breath.
Right.
Clear the mind. Because the last thing you can do is think about anything when you're trying to lift something crazy like that. So it was amazing. It was an amazing opportunity.
That's dope. That is so dope. You mentioned that you hadn't won the Arnold before, but when I was doing my background check on you, I saw that you're a 4-time British strong woman, or strongest woman in Britain, and then also 2018 World's Strongest Woman. Kind of break down those different competitions and titles for me. I know that being British Strongest Woman is kind of national, and then World's Strongest Woman is, of course, all around the world. What's the difference between the Arnold and then the World's Strongest Woman?
I think on a personal level, it's the atmosphere, it's the organisation. They're run by 2 different promoters.
Okay.
The official Strongman Games, which is where the World's Strongest Woman is taking place, it's very much like a conveyor belt of athletes. It's just bang, bam, 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 and it's 2 events per day, and you've got 200 athletes, sometimes more, doing the same thing. So they're really long days. And it's an okay competition, but I just find that the locations are like in the middle of random places. So the only spectators that are there is your mum, right, and someone you've dragged along off the streets maybe. Whereas the Arnold, it's such even when this year when there was nobody allowed in,
right,
such a massive atmosphere. You really feel the vibe of the place. There's always something going on, different events and stuff going on. So it's just and prize money. The Arnold, there's a little bit of prize money.
Okay.
Whereas World's Strongest Woman, currently there isn't a lot.
Okay. Well, you mentioned that, and one of the questions we do have for you is how do you fund your sport of powerlifting? Is it just through your day job? Or
yes, pretty much. My credit card is red hot. Every time, so what I do tend to do over the summer is do a lot of speeches and seminars, and sort of workshops and stuff. So I keep all the money I get from that, and I put it towards my international competitions. But before I was able to do that, it would be on credit cards, and I would just pay it off with my income that I get from my day job.
Right.
There isn't a lot of prize money, especially for the women.
Right.
It's getting better. Every year it gets better. Excuse me. Hello?
You good?
Sorry. So it's just the trouble of working from home.
It's all
So yeah, there is no great deal of prize money. You know, when I won, well, not saying it's bad. It's
Mhm.
obviously we're pretty pleasing that we get. When I won World's Strongest Woman, I was told there was no prize money at all. And it was about a week later, I had a message from the promoters to say we've managed to get a bit of prize money together. And I think it was about £300, so maybe $500.
Right. Okay. Okay. So
So on
that's
the level of like World's Strongest Man, it's like a tenth of what they would get.
wow. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
Plus all the sponsors and you know the stuff that they get given. So it's quite hard for us ladies, I think, to get sponsorship. You have to know the right people to get paid sponsorships.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a lot of us have got like with the protection, you know, the belts and all the sleeves and stuff. A lot of us have those kind of sponsors, clothing sponsors. There's not a lot of places or people who will fund our trips, you know, fund our expenses.
Right. So, how do you feel that the attention for the world's strongest woman, and then just that kind of type of competition for women in general, and then the future of powerlifting? How do you feel about the attention that it's getting, or lack of attention?
Um, I mean, the thing is, it's still quite a niche sport. You know, I'm still, even though I'm 6 years in, it's still quite new.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even before me, it wasn't massively talked. I didn't even know anything about strong women until I actually joined the sport myself. So it is getting better. I think with powerlifting, it's probably there's a little bit more because of the Olympics and all that kind of thing. There's more federations, there's more ways to be involved in powerlifting.
Right.
Whereas strongwoman, I think, is still a very much niche sport. I mean, strongman as well, even though it's more well known.
Right.
Women's side of it is still very small.
Okay. So before you got into before you got into the strong woman, what were you doing?
I did CrossFit for a couple of years.
Okay.
So I was a little bit of a fitness bunny for a little while. I say fitness bunny. I actually hated running.
Right.
And anything that involved more than a minute's worth of exercise. So, and they kind of recognise that, actually. The trainers recognise that. And it was actually one of the ladies who trains us, you know, she's like, Andrew, you know, I've never seen anyone as strong as you, especially a female as strong as you before. Maybe you should go into some sort of strength sport. And it was that conversation that led me into Strong Woman.
Oh, that's dope. That is so cool.
Just having somebody to say, do you know what, you're really good.
Right.
You need to take this on another level.
No, that is really cool. So your background, what got you into powerlifting and weightlifting? Have you ever competed in a powerlifting competition?
I haven't yet.
Okay.
I haven't yet. It's something that my coach has been hinting at, let's say, for a little while. So Lawrence Charlet is my coach, and he's powerlifter and strongman.
Okay.
So I know from my gym figures that my squat is not quite a world level. I think it's above European level.
Okay.
And my deadlift is getting there.
Now I know, because I was listening. I just rewatched your the competition last night with my wife, and I was showing her. I was trying not to spoil her on it, but at the same time, I wanted her to know, you know, who I was interviewing, and then the competition and how the record literally got broke 3 times in like however long. And shoot, I lost my train of thought with that. But segue. What is your relationship with the coach you just mentioned?
So Lawrence Charlet.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, he's my coach. So I've been with him since January, actually.
Oh, okay.
So not very long. I've known him for years, and we talk all the time, and he's always been very supportive of the women. I was just with another guy for a few years, and it just got to the point where I felt like my training was getting a little bit stale.
Right.
And when I lost my title of World's Strongest Woman last year, I thought now's a good time for me to change coach and just to give it a different angle, you know, have my training looked at by a different person. 3 years is a good time to be with somebody, but I wanted to take it to another level, and I just wasn't feeling that it was getting to that point. And Loz, as I call him, he's an experienced strongman, so he knows what not to do. He knows what to do. He knows how to program me to a peak.
Right.
So I peak at the right times and how to prevent injuries. He tells me off quite a lot because I tend to go rogue so often, and I just want to bust out like a max. And I get told off a lot. So he kind of reins me in.
Gotcha. So I remember what I was going to say. Thanks to Austin also. What is the technique differences between powerlifting and the strong woman competition? Because that's one thing I was listening to them say, how when you're doing the deadlift in a normal competition, you can't kind of do the little hitch a lot of the women were doing. So can you mention a little bit of the technique differences?
I don't know like the full technicalities out of it. Obviously, I've not really looked into powerlifting that much, but I know that you cannot, or the grind up on the legs is kind of
right.
Is forbidden, or you're not supposed to do that. And like it has to be one solid movement, doesn't it?
Right.
Through powerlifting, whereas with strong woman or strong man, you just get it up however it needs to be got up.
Right. Okay.
The same with overhead pressing. So you've got the Olympic lifting or the powerlifting, whatever. It's the same thing. You can just throw it up if it looks really ugly. It doesn't matter as long as it's locked out above your head. So it's just as long as it's up and there are no specific rules, then there is no real rules to strength.
Okay, got you. So how do you balance your family life with your intensive training? You said you got an 11-year-old and an 8-year-old.
Yes. So I have a very moody, hormonal 11-year-old daughter who is due to go up to high school in September, and a very energetic 8-year-old daughter. 2 girls, and a husband. But as you can probably heard earlier on, that we're all at home.
Okay.
Difficult time at the moment because of obviously the lockdown.
Right.
In general, we kind of work. Everyone's kind of just settled into my routine, and it's kind of military. I work part-time, so once I've done the school run, I then go to the gym, and I'm usually home. I come back, have my lunch, do some housework, and then it's a school run again.
Right.
And then on my days that I'm working, I do the school run, go to work, come home, school run again, or husband's at home to do the opposite end. The only time it really changes is when I'm competing. I want to go to America to compete because I'm away for about 5 to 6 days.
Right.
I mean, the girls are okay with dad at home, so that's not an issue. He knows how to look after his children.
Right.
But their moods change, so I do have to just be mum a little bit more. Now, the year that I won World's Strongest Woman, I was very much focused on getting that goal. So I know, and which is, you don't really realise it at the time, but afterwards, I think I spent about 6 months just not being around, just going to the gym. I was traveling around the country doing lots of different things, different training. I tried to train at different gyms as well, so I don't get used to the same equipment
right
where I am, because when I get to your side of the world, the equipment is completely different to ours.
How so?
So yeah, I wasn't around, didn't do the mum things for a few months. I had a goal to, yeah.
Okay, good deal. So you mentioned the equipment's a little different. How is the equipment a little different?
I don't really, there's not like massively, but I know that you have certain companies that you use over there. So you've got Rogue,
right?
You've got Bartos, I think, was used for a little while. It's different. It's a different feel.
Gotcha.
It's a different height, like especially like for farmers. The bars, the actual lifting bars can be different. The axle bars can be a different thickness. So the ones over here, they tend to be a little bit more shiny, whereas yours are kind of the rough kind of matte look.
Okay.
The logs that you use, yours tend to be smaller diameter, whereas ours tend to be quite big.
Right.
So yeah, it's just the mistake I made in my first year of international competition was not doing that. So when I came to my first Arnold, I was completely thrown out by just not being familiar with the equipment.
Gotcha. Okay, makes sense to me. So you competed in the Arnold, you competed in the British Strong Woman, and then you also competed in the World's Strongest Woman. Uh, so that's like the top competitions there are. Have you ever? I don't know if Mr. Olympia does anything strong woman wise, but do they?
No, I've done that. I went to Miss Olympia about 3 years ago. They had a strong woman competition there.
Gotcha.
Um, that was a whole new experience. To go to Vegas was very crazy. Let's put it that. It's crazy.
Right.
But yeah, that was just another part of the Strongman Corporation. It was just another one of their venues to use. So
Okay. So if things get back to normal, I think things are starting to open back up, the new normal or whatever. Do you plan on going to Vegas this year for the Strong Woman or for the Mr. Olympia in December?
No, it won't be. See, again, with the Strongman Corporation, because they run the Arnold for us ladies.
Right.
So I have to qualify again. The winner always gets automatic qualification, so anyone else has to requalify. So the qualifying competitions actually have all been cancelled in America, and the only one that's left is in Spain.
Okay.
So we just don't know what's happening with that yet. That might get cancelled also.
Right.
Because a lot of, this American side won't be able to get to Spain and all that. It's just travel. So anyway, we're just all a bit unsure as to what's going on at the moment.
Okay. All right. So that was my next question, but you already answered it. So what is your train of thought when attacking the weight when you're in the training process?
When I'm at the gym, it's very difficult, especially at the moment because I'm training by yourself. It's really quite hard to get focused. You get distracted by everything. I just try and clear my mind, and like I said before, you really can't think about anything when you're lifting something really heavy. I try and get angry and I try and get aggressive. So the music makes a massive difference. I have to be fed properly because if I'm hungry, then I can't lift anything.
Right.
I have to be hydrated because if I've got a headache or anything, it just distracts you. So all these little compounds have to be in place before you can do that. And then once all that's in place, your area's set up properly, the music's right. It's usually a bit of Eminem because it's just quite aggressive. So that's usually what's playing when I'm going for something heavy. I mean, I can listen to pop, I can listen to, Barbie Girl sometimes. It depends what I'm doing. But if it's a really heavy day and I need to be aggressive and I need to be strong that day, then it needs to be, I often train with the lights off as well.
Okay.
And just go with the natural light from the windows.
Okay.
And you just have to get focused. And people ask me all the time, actually, how do you clear your mind? You just learn to do it. You just learn to do it. When I did the deadlift record, having all that noise around you, you learn to turn it into kind of like white noise.
Right.
And things just go silent in the end. Okay. It goes silent and you just get yourself ready to go.
Got you. So a couple more questions before we get you out of here. You said you train. I saw that in the competition you had no shoes on. Is that something you do while you're training? No shoes?
With a deadlift, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, only with a deadlift. Anything else, I wear shoes. So squats and overhead, I wear your Olympic lifting shoes.
Right.
The deadlift thing, I'm not really sure how that happened. I've got quite wide feet as well, and I think when I was being taught, because the difference between CrossFit and strongman or even Olympic lifting, powerlifting, are completely different. The CrossFit is very erratic lifting, and there's not really a lot of form.
Right.
So I was trying to lift strongman style as still CrossFitting. So they just didn't mix. I think I was taught how to stand properly, how to spread my toes properly. You can't really do that when you've got shoes on.
Okay.
And especially with me, I've got fat feet, so I needed to have the space to spread my feet. And again, I think rather than putting my shoes on for that particular event would have changed what I would do in the gym. Everything I do in a competition, I do exactly the same as when I'm in the gym, because I put my wrist straps on the same way.
Right.
But my belt is always done last. I usually kind of pull my trousers up a bit. It's just little things that you go through,
right.
Just before you're about to go onto the platform.
Okay. So being a power lifter and a strong woman, do you face any insecurities?
All the time, especially as a woman.
Right.
I mean, I actually had this conversation yesterday. My insecurities didn't really start until I'd won World's Strongest Woman.
Really?
I was, I was quite happy doing what I was doing. I was enjoying the sport I just discovered. When I won World's Strongest Woman, all eyes were on me, and people wanted photos all the time. People were stopping me in the street. All of a sudden, I was getting recognised when I was out with my children. Going to the McDonald's drive-through, that was the most embarrassing thing, that they were stopping me in the window, and my kids were like, "What is going on?" I was like, "I really don't know." So, just things like that. I became quite paranoid, I guess, about the way I looked, the way I dressed, the way I spoke to people. I'm quite a jokey person, and I'm quite loud. When I'm out with my friends, I can't do that anymore because people recognise me all the time. And the way that I look as well, that really became a thing. I've never been insecure about the way I look. I've always been a big girl. And all of a sudden, people were scrutinising everything I did. So, yeah, it's taken a little while to kind of broaden my shoulders again.
Right.
But yeah, you kind of just get used to it now. Now I take it as a compliment.
Gotcha. It makes sense to me, especially being thrust at you all kind of at once, I think Jay-Z said it. I don't know if you're a Jay-Z fan, but he was like, fame is something crazy, and you got to be brainless to unnecessarily want to go through these changes.
Yeah.
So you mentioned listening to Eminem while you're heavy lifting. Is that one of your favorite artists? Are there any other artists you really like to listen to?
It just varies. I've got quite a broad range of music that I like. I'm an old school R&B. And I was born in the 80s, raised in the 90s.
Right.
So old school, like UK garage is my thing. Usher will always be my favorite. So every teenage girl's heartthrob at that age. I'll always listen to Usher. The Weeknd is also another one. Again, it just depends on my mood.
Right.
But I can't listen to R&B while I'm training because it's too slow and I'm singing and I just want to groove. So it has to be, just hard. The beat has to be heavy. It does get me focused a lot more. But I'm quite chilled normally, so a lot of R&B I listen to.
Okay, good deal. Well, I think that is all of our questions, but we certainly appreciate you coming on here. Oh, one more question, Austin. Just let me know. What are some of your hobbies that you like to enjoy other than weightlifting?
I'm a gardener.
Okay.
I'm a bit green fingered in the garden. I like to read. I'd like to take time out to read when I get the headspace. Obviously, having a busy household, it's obviously quite tricky sometimes. And I just like being out and about with my friends. Really, it's not really a hobby, but I'm quite a sociable person. So this whole lockdown situation has been horrible. Apart from Zoom, everyone's like jumped on the Zoom thing because I can see my friends again. But yeah, otherwise I'm always in the garden, always out.
Bet. That sounds good. Well, what kind of vegetables or what kind of plants are you growing?
So I've got lots of bushes. I've got a plum tree in the bottom of the garden. We've just done some courgettes, some tomatoes. I'm not very good at rhubarb. That seems to die every year. And just lots of flowers. Just like the flowers. And I've got an oriental Japanese bush that my cats keep attacking.
Good deal. Well, hey, you certainly made a fan out of me and Austin and the brand For the Health of It. Before we get you out of here, shout out your social media accounts.
So I'm Andrea Thompson, lower dash, what's that little line?
Underscore.
Andrea Thompson _ strong woman on Instagram and also on Facebook.
Okay, good deal. Well, Andrea, we certainly appreciate you coming on For the Health of It. I'm your host, Corian K-Pad Paget, and thank you for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe to all streaming platforms and to YouTube. Thank you, Andrea.
Thank you, guys.